I'm Glad My Mom Died is the title of a book that I became aware of this past week. I believe it's a fairly new release. It was written by this woman, Jeanette McGurdy, who I kind of didn't know at all existed until this week. I just saw this book on the internet and I was like interested for the first time in finding out who she was. Let's do a quick image here, just show you really fast the title of the book and the cover of the book. Let's see if we can get an actual photo of this thing. Can we? It's so tiny. Why is this picture so tiny? Okay, here's a good one. Let's open this in a new tab and look at it together. So this is the title page, not title page, the front of the book. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McGurdy. She's posing with this urn that is representative of her mother's urn. Impressively funny and an important cultural document. Obviously, people are a little bit upset about this. It's something that I want to talk about because, like, Jeanette is using this book to discuss her experience as a child actress. She was on iCarly. I did not watch iCarly. I don't know if I was the wrong age or if it's just because I didn't have cable at that time in my life. I had no idea about this. And she was on that show, and then later she was on a spin-off show with Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande was also a teenager, I believe. And throughout this period of time, she was being abused by her mother. In some really fucking weird ways also. Like, we'll talk about it in a second. But she was not necessarily being treated well behind the scenes on the show itself. She speaks about an adult creator on the show trying to, like, give her alcohol and be weirdly intimate with her. And it's just a long kind of life to have your mom doing crazy shit to you. So I haven't yet read the book. I would kind of like to, honestly. Maybe I'll add it to my Amazon wish list if somebody would like to snag it for me, because I don't think I have a casual $30 to drop on a book just for the sake of reading it when we're already I think we have enough material available to just discuss here on the stream today. I want to look at this article from People, which is, the biggest bombshells from Jeanette McGurdy's memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I'm going to use this as my means of kind of skimming through to give you an idea of what she's talking about, right? Because I think that a lot of people don't understand what it's like to be abused by your mother. Like, people, maybe I'm blowing my load a little early here, I guess, but people don't respond well when you openly hate your mother. It doesn't go very well. So I just want to, like, kind of glance through some of this stuff. I don't want to go into too much sensationalism about this, though, because I think that is an unfortunate thing that's happened with this story a little bit. There's some sensationalism regarding her leaving the Nickelodeon network. So she was like a perky, peppy girl on the show and on her, like, press tours and shit like that. She was known from that persona throughout her youth and young adult life, and it was a front that was forced upon her by her mom, who projected, like, wanted to live vicariously through Jeanette via her acting career. Like, her mom was very controlling in that regard. She says, my earliest memories of childhood were of heaviness and chaos. In particular, she says, my mom's emotions were so erratic that it was like walking a tightrope every day. The mood fluctuations were daily. Fucking hard relate, bro. She was under a lot of pressure. And so this says this overwhelming pressure of keeping up this front led the actress to suffer from eating disorders, but actually her mom forced anorexia on her. And then that, like, developed further into her own eating disorder, addiction. She was anorexic and then later became bulimic. Like, even after her mom died, she still found herself trapped in those cycles. So when Jeanette was 2 years old, her mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. So part of I was watching another interview that I'm not going to show today here that Jeanette was giving, where she was saying, my earliest memories were chaotic because her mom almost died when she was like a baby, basically. So there was this lingering heaviness on her childhood that her mom's cancer might come back at any time. And she did finally pass away in 2013, 9 years ago. I think that Jeanette was about 21 at that time. So let's scroll through. She was forced into acting. She I guess didn't really want to. She said she was forced into the life Deborah wished she could have had, recalling her mom asking, you want to be mommy's little actress? She says she felt she had no choice. Securing auditions for her kids. Unlike Jeanette's brother Marcus, who impressed Barbara with his monologue, Jeanette was told she lacks charisma when auditioning both of her children. She auditioned both of her children. This currently dead abuser. She endured childhood trauma due to her mother's control. So she was not only forced into acting, but the extremity of her mother's control went so far as wiping her butt at 8 years old. Jeanette recalls her mother wiping her butt until, her mom said that she needs to do it until I'm at least 10. That is, if you're not disabled, that's fucking weird and really not okay. This is really a little bit foreign to my experience because I was not a child star. Obviously, my relationship with my abusive mother was not at all the same as this. In addition, Jeanette says Deborah regularly performed breast and, quote, front butt exams on her to check for potentially cancerous lumps and bumps. Sexual abuse is part of this. She's basically saying, her mother inflicted upon her, genital exams. She says, by the time the exams are done, a huge wave of relief washes over my whole body. I usually realize that's the first time I've felt my body since the exam started. She would dissociate. Also, her mother gave her showers in addition to and at the same time as her brother, who was almost 16. When her brother asked to shower on his own, her mom sobbed and said she didn't want him to grow up. So he never asked again after that. And I was watching an interview where she said that her mother did this until she was 17. Her mother bathed her until she was 17. Bathed her teenage children together in the shower like they're toddlers. Yeah, this is very weird. This is an experience that's well beyond what I had. I don't think that Jeanette was physically abused in the way that I was, but this is a totally different situation. She developed an eating disorder. Yeah, her mom, she says the only thing worse than a cancer diagnosis is a growing up diagnosis. Her mother tried to keep her looking young, so that keeping her skinny was part of keeping her looking young. Her success being dependent on her being on a children's show, I guess, made her mom want her to look young. So it says, she says, each Sunday she weighs me and measures my thighs with a measuring tape. After a few weeks of our routine, she provides me with a stack of diet books, and I finish that quickly. Adding that she began to feel rewarded for going to extremes. She wanted to quit acting before finding fame. Yeah, she just really didn't want to be an actress. She recalls her mom's reaction. Don't be silly. You love acting. It's your favorite thing in the world. Mom says in a way that makes it sound like a threat. Oh, it's your favorite thing in the world. Don't you dare make me give up the lifestyle I've gotten used to living off of the money that you make. You can't quit. This was our chance. It was our chance. She writes of her mother's reaction. She bangs on the steering wheel, accidentally hitting the horn. Mascara trickles down her cheeks. She's hysterical, like I was in the Hollywood homicide audition. Her hysteria frightens me and demands to be taken care of. You really do feel, as a child in an abusive situation, like this, your mother freaking out demands to be taken care of, that means like you as a child, your instinct kicks in to try to mollify your parent. Like you want her to calm down. In my case, it was like, I want her to calm down so she doesn't hit me. So I would try to like, you know, explain things or like try to talk her down. There were times that I had to like comfort my mother. Like, oh, my mom got broken up with and she's crying and I'm like comforting her, like holding my own crying mother. Which like, you know, to I guess to some degree that might sound like a bonding moment, but it really just feels sick and toxic. I don't know. It makes me feel gross. So, and then she was exploited as an actress. She feels that she, you know, there were situations where they insisted she wear a bikini instead of a one piece. She was peer pressured by one of the creative heads into drinking alcohol when she was underage. She was forced by that person to have her first kiss on camera during a scene with Nathan Kress for an episode of the show. Like, she hadn't had her first kiss and they made her do it on camera. She's friends with Miranda Cosgrove, who was in the show with her. She had a rivalry with Ariana Grande. Reportedly, allegedly, in the book, she says when she left the network Nickelodeon, they offered her $300,000 to, quote, never talk publicly about your experience at Nickelodeon. She says, this feels to me like hush money, recalling her reaction, noting that she turned down the offer immediately. She had relapse after her mom's death. She's on a journey to recovery. I noticed how skinny she is. Like, if you see her like arms, especially, and I wonder if being anorexic at such a young age made her not finish developing physically. Because that's why people used to be short, is because they were malnourished. You literally don't grow as tall if you're not receiving food during that time. Oh, yeah. So here it is. When her mother was on her deathbed with a predicted 48 hours to live, Jeanette whispered in her ear news she thought might revive her. Mommy, I am so skinny right now. I'm finally down to 89 pounds, she recalls in her memoir. And she ended up anorexic and bulimic, binge eating and purging. She says, at least I feel thin and valuable and good about my body and my smallness. I look like a kid again. I'm determined to keep this up. I'm honoring Mom. She didn't end up finding treatment. She has been on the road to recovery. Miranda Cosgrove has been supportive to her throughout her recovery. So she's doing well. Like, she's a 30-year-old woman now, and she is in a much better place in her life. Let's see. She speaks about how she feels kind of healed now, I guess. Let's see. I have this series of little short clips on here that we can look through. This part is going to be probably for me more difficult because, first of all, listen, I'm really stressed about everything right now, but this is like, oh shoot, I gotta change the color of this thing again. This is more like her talking about her experience of it and like her relationship to the memory of her mother and stuff, and like I just might cry a little bit. Fair fucking warning.
This title is, I get that it's attention.
She's being questioned about like, why did you choose this title in this clip?
Attention grabbing, but it's also something that I mean sincerely. I'm not saying it at all in a flippant way. And while the response might be divided, I really appreciate the positivity that I've received from a lot of people and the support that I've received from a lot of people. I think that anybody who's experienced parental abuse understands this title. And I think anybody who has a sense of humor understands this title. And I'm not so concerned with the opinions of anybody else because this book is not for them.
What do you think your mom would say about it?
I wouldn't have written the book if my mom were alive. I would still have my identity dictated by her. This title is...
Okay, just pause for a second. Hold on. Come here. Come here. You gonna come on? Jump up here? Come on. Come on, you're over here asking me. We're having an interruption. How could you not understand it even if you haven't experienced parental abuse? We'll talk about it in a minute. The way that people react if you have an abusive dad, everyone is very sympathetic. Come here, kitty cat. You're gonna come here while I talk about this. Come here. Oh gosh. Okay, so people are very sympathetic when you talk about having an abusive dad. I don't have an abusive dad, so I don't actually have personal experience with this really. But it's like, oh yeah, men are the worst. Like, you know, ugh, gosh, that sucks. But when you have an abusive mother and you try to talk about it, like, you're like, no, my mom fucking sucks. And people are like, your mother gave birth to you. How could you be so ungrateful and disrespectful of all of the sacrifices she's made for you? Like, this is what it's like to be abused by your mom and to try to speak to people about it. It is one of the most gaslighty experiences to know that you're being, like, hit or forced to starve yourself or whatever, and to have people tell you that you are being... He's so upset right now. To have people tell you that you have to keep loving your mom no matter what. Like, so if you put a title like, I'm glad my mom died, the title of her book, it is inflammatory. Like, people are going to be really upset. Okay, you're done? All right, it's fine. And they'll gaslight you and undermine your experience. And it's pretty fucking awful. So, this next video, I only just started to watch this next clip, and I found that I almost started tearing up with this one, and then I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna look through this on stream, but I haven't like finished watching any of this stuff. I just wanted to react live. React live. Shit, hold on. Give me a second. Let me fucking figure this out. Give me a second.
Grief for me toward my mom used to be really complicated. I'd feel really angry and confused at why I felt angry that I was grieving her. I felt like she didn't deserve my tears and my sadness and that she was abusive. But it simplified in a really relieving way, and now feels like I'm able to just miss her. And I think that is only possible because of the healing that happened through the writing of the book.
Okay, yeah, that was the part that I was like, oh yeah, I might cry about that. She was talking about the grief and like grieving and being angry at herself for grieving her dead mom, and reaching a point with it where, like, it's really difficult to feel like you miss a parent who, like my mom, like I recognize a lot of ways in which she made sacrifices in order to make my life and my brother's life better. She made hard choices. I remember one time specifically, like, there was just no cat food in the house for like 2 days. And I was like pissed off about it. I was like, Mom, there needs to be cat food. Like, you can't just not feed the cats. And like, not appreciating at the time that, hold on, give me a second, hold on, that my mom was having to choose between feeding her children and feeding her pets, or like her children's pets. Really, the situation was, I was like, that's my cat you're not feeding. So to have a person who made a lot of sacrifices for you, like realistically actually did, but also like did horrible things to you, like did unspeakable things. Like, I cannot imagine doing to a child any of the things that were done to me as a child. And it's, I don't know, it's really validating to see someone talk about it openly, like how complex it is to like miss those positive moments of connection. Like I remember when my mom, she was in college throughout a lot of my childhood. She wanted to like be an English teacher, but she also was really interested in Greek and Roman mythology. So she was like sitting at the dining room table one time reading, I think it was the Iliad, because there was like she thought some like really rad description of warfare in the poem or the story, the Iliad. And she was like, oh my gosh, you have got to get a hold of this section here. It's awesome. And she's like sitting at the table and she reads this section of the Iliad to me. And like, we had a lot of moments where we sat down together and did jigsaw puzzles and stuff. And it's really difficult and complicated to have this tension, this like cognitive dissonance almost of the parent who at once, like on the one hand, did the best they could, and on the other hand, like still fucked up beyond repair. Like to the point where I'm not willing to have a relationship with her. I think that Jeanette still, like, I mean, she was at her mother's hospital bed when she died, or while she was dying in the hospital. When my mom dies, I'm gonna find out about it afterward. Or like maybe she'll get a hold of me while she's dying and then I will not come see her because fuck that bitch. Like, I'm sorry. There's just no universe in which this is gonna be okay. There's just nothing from my perspective that is gonna fix the situation. Like, I've been through PTSD treatment. Sorry, we're done. I'm done with this bullshit. I'm not dealing with it anymore. So let's watch this last little clip from Jeanette and
even if it was
wrap up any final commentary we have about this. So she's talking about having turned down the $30,000, or sorry, the $300,000. And Nickelodeon said, we have no reportable response other than a no comment at this time. So if that tells you anything.
I just said, no, it's not happening. That sounds like hush money to me. Not doing it, not taking it. And then I do remember leaning against, I think I talk about this in the book, but I lean against my bed and I'm like, well, shoot, that could have put my nieces through college. Like, that was some good money. But I am ultimately proud of my decision there, wherever it came from. Even if it was informed by self-righteousness, I think that, I did something that was really hard to do. Oh my God, it makes me emotional. I'm proud of myself.
Why? Why proud of yourself?
I think I've chosen a path of integrity. And it hasn't always been easy. I just said,
I am so proud of her. I'm like, I don't know you at all, but I'm so proud of you. Like, I don't know everything that goes into, like, when a person says, like, I've chosen a path of integrity, there are a lot of forks on her path that none of us know about. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that I think that no one is ever going to know about, even with her having just written a memoir that's like a tell-all memoir. Yeah, exactly. I hope she makes 10 times more from the book than she would have made from the hush money. True. All right. So yeah, I guess I managed to fit most of my commentary in while we were talking along this. I mostly just wanted to bring attention to the fact that this is really difficult to talk about. It's really, I mean, it's just challenging to be openly like the person who gave birth to me, who is supposed to be like the person who is always caring for me and providing, and everyone tells me I'm wrong for speaking badly about her despite the way that she constantly treats me. Like, it's really a tough thing to navigate. And I think that we should have more open conversations about this and more willingness to acknowledge that, like, sometimes the mom is just the worst, the worst of the two parents. Like, if, like, my dad wasn't perfect, of course. Like, neither of my parents were equipped to be parents when I was born, but he but my mom like just did repeatedly unforgivable things, and it was wrong that people constantly told me that I had to just keep loving her, as though like I think the only unconditional love that should exist in the world is like you're a parent and you like have a child. Like you should love that person unconditionally unless they do something like actually horrendous. Like I don't even know. Like if your kid like rapes and murders someone, maybe that might be a condition upon which like rescinding some of your love and affection might be appropriate. But for the most part, like I don't believe in the idea of like, oh, you should unconditionally love your parents. I'm like, actually no. It's possible to fuck up so bad that like, all I can do is go to therapy over it. I appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion, and I'm done talking about that now, I think. Thank you so much to my patrons for making this work possible. I want to especially shout out Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Maurice Taylor, Jovian F. Gaudreau, Heather Clarkson, Amanda B., R. Halverson, Athiet, Sarah A., Wellington Marcus, Michelle Winter, Decoy Duck, Nova, Suzanne Maynard, Elizabeth Bartell, Mr. Atheist, and Bean.